He chose the ugliest alien woman as his prize. The human soldier knew who she really was. The sky above the alien capital was not blue. It was a deep silver color, like cold metal stretched across the world. Massive floating towers hovered in perfect lines, their surfaces glowing with symbols that changed every second. Below them stood the Arena of Conquest, the largest structure on the planet. The arena was not built for sport. It was built for humiliation. Thousands of alien spectators filled the endless seats. They came from dozens of species, tall, short, scaled, feathered, smooth-skinned. All of them were citizens of the Dominion, the empire that had defeated humanity only 3 months ago. At the center of the arena stood a wide, circular platform. Chains of light formed invisible barriers around it. On one side of the platform stood the victors, alien commanders in polished armor. On the other side stood the defeated, the humans. There were only 47 of them left. They stood in a straight line, wearing gray prisoner clothing. Their hands were bound, but their backs were straight. Some were wounded, some were exhausted, but none of them looked down. Among them stood Sergeant Elias Kane. His face was calm, but his eyes missed nothing. He studied the arena, the guards, the sky, the sound patterns of the crowd. Even now, even as a prisoner, his mind worked like a soldier's mind always did. A deep voice echoed across the arena. "Let the ceremony of selection begin." The crowd roared. This was the final insult. The Dominion believed that a conquered species must be broken not only in battle, but in spirit. So they forced survivors to choose prizes from among the conquered populations of other worlds, beings stripped of status and dignity. It was meant to show power. It was meant to show that humans were no longer warriors, only tools. A long line of alien women and men was brought onto the platform. They wore simple clothing and shock collars. Their eyes were empty. Some were clearly afraid. Others looked numb, as if fear had burned out long ago. The alien announcer spoke again. "Each human will choose one. You will take responsibility for them. This is your reward for survival." Laughter rolled through the crowd. One by one, humans were pushed forward. Some chose quickly, not thinking. Some hesitated. Some closed their eyes and pointed, unable to bear the moment. Elias waited. He did not move. His heart was steady, but his memory was loud. Years ago, before the war, he had been part of a small intelligence unit. Most of what they learned was never shared. Some files were sealed even from high command. One of those files had been marked with a single word, myth. It described an ancient species that once shaped the galaxy itself, a species so advanced that even their enemies feared them. They did not conquer worlds. They redesigned civilizations, then disappeared. The report ended with a warning: if they still exist, they will never appear powerful. Elias had always remembered that line. Now, as his turn approached, he scanned the line of prisoners. Most looked normal by alien standards, tall, symmetrical, colorful. Beings the Dominion would consider beautiful. Then he saw her. She stood at the very end of the line. The guards had placed her there on purpose. She was smaller than the others. Her skin was pale and uneven. Her face was asymmetrical, her eyes too large, her posture slightly bent. One of her arms appeared thinner than the other. By Dominion standards, she was ugly. The crowd noticed her too. Laughter broke out again, louder this time. "Why is that one even here?" Her gaze was calm, and when her eyes met Elias, she looked away instantly, not in fear, in caution. The human before Elias made his choice and was dragged away. A guard shoved Elias forward. "It is your turn, human," the announcer's voice carried across the arena. "Choose." The crowd leaned forward, eager for entertainment. Elias did not hesitate. He raised his bound hand and pointed. "At her." The arena went silent. Then it exploded with noise, laughter, shouting, mocking cries. The announcer paused. "Repeat." Elias spoke clearly. "I choose her." The guards looked confused. One of them laughed openly. "That one," the guard said. "You are allowed to choose again." Elias shook his head. "No, my choice is final." The announcer leaned closer to his console, studying Elias. "Human," the voice said slowly, "you have selected the lowest-ranked individual available. This choice brings no advantage." "I know," Elias replied. More laughter filled the arena. The alien woman kept her head down. But for a brief moment, so brief that no camera caught it, her fingers moved, 3 slow taps against her leg. Elias felt his breath catch. That signal was ancient, not human, not Dominion. It was a confirmation code described only once in the myth file. Observer acknowledged. The guards unlocked her collar and dragged her toward Elias. She did not resist. When they pushed her beside him, she stumbled slightly, just enough to look weak. The crowd loved it. "Look at the human," someone shouted. "He chose broken goods." Ilias said nothing. The announcer's voice rang out again. "Let history record this moment. A human soldier reduced to nothing chooses a thing even less than himself." The guards bound the alien woman's wrist to Ilias' S with a glowing restraint. Her skin was warm, alive, real. As the ceremony continued, Ilias felt her lean closer as if seeking support. To the watchers it looked pathetic, but he felt the truth. Her weight was perfectly controlled, her breathing unchanged. She whispered without moving her lips. "Do not react." Ilias stared forward. "I won't. You remembered us," she said softly. "Yes," Ilias replied, "but I don't understand why you're here." "That," she said, "will take time." The ceremony ended with thunderous applause. The humans were led away, each bound to their chosen prize. As Ilias walked through the long corridors beneath the arena, alarms hummed softly in the walls. Alien guards marched beside them, relaxed and careless. The Dominion believed the moment was complete. They believed the lesson had been taught. They were wrong. As the doors closed behind them, the alien woman finally looked up at Ilias. For the first time, her eyes changed. They became ancient. "You chose correctly," she said. Ilias met her gaze. "I had a feeling," he answered. Far above them, unseen by any sensor, something old stirred awake. And the galaxy took its first step toward remembering a mistake it had made once before. The corridor beneath the arena was long and cold. White light strips ran along the walls and floor, glowing without any visible source. The sound of boots echoed again and again as the prisoners were marched forward. Ilias' cane walked in silence. The restraint linking his wrist to the alien woman's wrist glowed faint blue. It adjusted itself to their movement, never pulling too tight, never loosening. Dominion technology liked balance. It liked control. Around them, alien guards joked and talked loudly. They were relaxed. To them, the humans were finished. Broken soldiers walking toward quiet lives of shame. Ilias knew better. He focused on details, the number of guards, their weapons, the camera placement in the ceiling, the rhythm of patrol drones passing overhead. Old habits never left a soldier. The alien woman walked beside him, her head lowered, shoulders slightly curved. To anyone watching, she looked weak, dependent, exactly what the Dominion expected, but Ilias noticed what others did not. Her steps were measured, her breathing slow. Her pulse, where their wrists touched, was calm. She was acting. They reached a wide chamber filled with energy cages. Each cage was large enough for two beings. The guards pushed the humans and their prizes inside, sealing the glowing walls behind them. Ilias and the alien woman were placed into a cage near the center. The guards laughed as they locked it. "Enjoy your reward, human," one guard said. "You chose well." More laughter followed as they walked away. The noise slowly faded. Only the low hum of the cages remained. Ilias waited. He knew better than to speak first. The alien woman slowly lifted her head. Her face still looked uneven, her skin pale under the artificial light, but her eyes were sharp now. "You did not hesitate," she said quietly. "No," Ilias replied. "Neither did you," she studied him. "Many humans before you would have chosen differently." "Many humans before me didn't have the files I saw," Ilias said. A pause followed. "Then the files were not destroyed," she said. "Interesting." Ilias leaned slightly against the glowing wall of the cage. "You already know too much about us." She gave a small smile. It looked strange on her face, but not unkind. "And you know too much about myths," she replied. Ilias kept his voice low. "If you're what I think you are, then this place isn't a prison for you." "No," she agreed. "It is a stage." Outside the cage, other prisoners whispered, cried, or sat in silence. Some humans stared at Ilias with anger or confusion. They did not understand his choice. He did not try to explain. The alien woman stepped closer. To the cameras, it looked like fear, like she was seeking protection. In truth, she positioned herself exactly where the cameras overlapped. "There are questions you want to ask," she said. "Yes," Ilias answered. "But I don't know which one scares me more." She nodded once. "That is a good sign." Before Ilias could respond, the lights in the chamber dimmed slightly. A holographic symbol appeared above the cages. It was the mark of Dominion authority. A voice filled the room. "Sergeant Ilias Kane." Ilias straightened. "You have been selected for review," the voice continued. "You will answer questions regarding your choice." The cage unlocked with a soft pulse. Two guards stepped forward and pulled Ilias out. The restraint between him and the alien woman stretched, then adjusted, forcing her to follow. She stumbled on purpose. The guards laughed again. They were taken through several corridors until they reached a smaller room. This one was dark, with a single light above the center. A platform waited there, surrounded by floating holographic screens. A Dominion overseer appeared on the screens, tall, thin, skin like polished stone. "Human," the overseer said. "Your behavior was irregular." Elias said nothing. "You were given the opportunity to improve your situation," the overseer continued. "Instead, you chose disadvantage." "I chose," Elias replied. "Why?" Silence filled the room. The overseer's eyes shifted to the alien woman. "This one is ranked lowest among the available. She holds no political, biological, or labor value." Elias met the overseer's gaze. "Then you won't miss her." A murmur passed through the control systems. The overseer paused, then leaned forward. "You are defeated," it said. "Your species is defeated. You gain nothing by defiance." Elias smiled slightly. "Defiance isn't always about gain." The overseer studied him for a long moment. Then it said, "Remove the human." The guards moved forward. The alien woman suddenly spoke. "Wait!" Her voice echoed differently, not louder. Clearer, the overseer turned. "You are not authorized to speak." "I know," she replied calmly, "but he chose me. That makes his choice part of the ceremony." The overseer hesitated. Elias felt it, a small crack in certainty. The overseer finally said, "Speak." She bowed her head. The human acted within the rules. Punishing him would disrupt the narrative. Elias hid his surprise. She was using Dominion logic against them. The overseer considered this, then nodded once. "Accepted." The guards stepped back. Elias exhaled slowly. The overseer returned its attention to him. "Your explanation is recorded as irrational. You will be monitored." The screens went dark. The guards escorted Elias and the alien woman back to the cages. As they walked, Elias whispered, "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," she replied, "I did." Back inside the cage, the walls sealed again. Minutes passed, then hours. Finally, when the chamber grew quiet and the guards changed shifts, the alien woman spoke again. "They believe weakness is truth," she said. "That is their greatest flaw." Elias nodded. "Humans learned that lesson the hard way." She looked at him carefully. "Why did you remember us?" Elias leaned back. "Because your file didn't read like a myth, it read like a warning." Her eyes softened. "We erased ourselves to prevent worship," she said. "And to prevent fear." "Looks like it didn't work," Elias replied. "No," she said, "but hiding did." She raised her free hand slightly. Tiny lights appeared in the air, so faint that only Elias could see them. The cage hummed differently for half a second. "What was that?" Elias asked. "A test," she answered. "The system noticed nothing." Elias' pulse quickened. "You could escape." "Yes. Then why don't you?" She looked at him. "Because escape alone changes nothing," she said. "I did not come here to survive." Elias frowned. "Then why are you here?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Because your species does something no other does," she said. "You lose, you adapt, you return." Elias thought of Earth, of burned cities and broken fleets. "We're not returning anytime soon," he said. She smiled again. This time it looked almost human. "You already have," she said. Far above them, inside Dominion networks, small errors began to appear. Nothing important, nothing noticed. Yet, time moved slowly inside the holding chamber. The Dominion believed silence weakened prisoners. They believed waiting broke hope. That was why the lights never fully turned off and why the low hum of energy never stopped. Elias Kane had learned long ago that silence could also sharpen the mind. He sat on the smooth floor of the cage, his back against the glowing wall. The alien woman sat a short distance away, knees drawn close, head lowered again. To the cameras, she looked small and tired, but Elias no longer saw her that way. He watched the reflections in the cage wall, every movement, every shift of posture. She was always aware of where the cameras were, always careful. "Someone is watching," Elias said quietly. "Always," she replied, "but not always listening." Elias raised an eyebrow. "That's a dangerous difference." "Yes," she said, "for them." A patrol of guards passed outside the chamber. Their armor clicked softly as they walked. When they were gone, the alien woman lifted her head slightly. "You will not ask your questions yet," she said. "That's not how humans usually work," Elias replied. "I know," she said. "That is why I am asking." Elias considered this, then nodded. "All right, I'll wait." She studied him again. "You are disciplined." "Habit," he answered. Another pause followed. Then she said, "Your kind uses discipline to face fear." We use it to keep going, Elias said. Fear doesn't go away, you just stop letting it drive. Her eyes dimmed slightly as if remembering something old. Many species claim courage, she said. Few understand endurance. Outside the cage, a Dominion drone floated past. Its sensors swept the chamber, then moved on. The alien woman shifted closer to Elias. This time she did not pretend to stumble. They will separate us soon, she said. Elias frowned. Why? Because you disrupt their expectations, she replied. They will attempt correction. Interrogation? Elias asked. Yes, for you, she said, and dissection for me. Elias' jaw tightened. They won't touch you, he said. She looked at him gently. That confidence is dangerous. So is underestimating humans, Elias replied. For the first time, she laughed quietly. The sound was soft and brief, but real. Perhaps, she said. Hours later, the chamber doors opened. A group of Dominion scientists entered, followed by armed guards. Their eyes went straight to the alien woman. The defective specimen will be removed, one scientist announced. The guards unlocked the cage. Elias stood immediately. No, he said. A guard struck him with an energy prod. Pain shot through his body, but he stayed upright. She remains under my responsibility, Elias said through clenched teeth. The scientist tilted its head. Responsibility does not override research. Before Elias could move again, the alien woman touched his arm. Stop, she whispered. He froze. Trust me, she added. Elias hesitated, then slowly lowered his hands. The guards took the alien woman by the arms. She did not resist. She looked back at Elias only once. Her eyes were calm. The cage sealed behind him. Elias was alone. Anger burned in his chest, but he forced it down. Panic would help no one. He sat slowly, breathing deep, replaying every word she had said. They will separate us soon. She had known. Minutes passed, then an hour. Then the lights flickered, just once. Elias looked up sharply. The hum of the cage shifted tone so slightly that most beings would not notice. Elias did. Something had changed. In a distant corridor, alarms chirped briefly, then stopped. Elias stood. All right, he muttered. What are you doing? Elsewhere in the facility, the alien woman lay on a metal platform. Restraints held her arms and legs. Bright lights scanned her body. Dominion scientists surrounded her, speaking in quick, sharp tones. Internal structure irregular. Enough, she said. The word carried weight, not volume, authority. The restraints shut down completely. The scanning machine powered off. The scientists froze. What did you do? One demanded. She sat up slowly. Her posture changed. Her shoulders straightened. The slight bend in her back disappeared. I allowed you to look, she said. You did not understand what you saw. The air shimmered around her. The cameras in the room blinked out one by one. You should not exist, a scientist whispered. She stepped off the platform. I exist because I chose to, she replied. Across the facility, systems began to reset. Doors unlocked, then relocked. Data streams looped. Security permissions shifted without alert. Back in his cage, Elias felt the energy wall weaken for half a second. Then it vanished. He stared at the empty space where the wall had been. Well, he said quietly, that answers one question. He stepped out of the cage. No alarms sounded. The chamber was empty. Elias moved carefully, keeping to shadows. Years of training guided his steps. He found a service corridor and followed it, counting turns. Then he heard her voice. Turn left. He did. She stood there, no longer pretending. Her skin still looked uneven, but now it seemed intentional, like a mask worn too long. Her eyes glowed faintly with shifting patterns. You're all right, Elias said. Yes, she replied, and you trusted me. I didn't have many other options, he said. She smiled. You had many, you chose restraint. She gestured, and the lights in the corridor dimmed further. We do not have much time, she said. They will notice soon. Then tell me, Elias said. Tell me who you really are. She looked at him for a long moment. My name no longer translates, she said. Your records called my kind a myth. The ancient ones, Elias said. Yes, she replied, but we were not gods, we were caretakers. Of the galaxy? Elias asked. Of balance, she said. When civilizations grow too fast, they destroy themselves or everything else. Elias thought of the Dominion. You tried to stop them, he said. We did, she replied, too many times. So you hid, Elias said. Yes, she said, and we waited for a species that could face loss without becoming monsters. Elias swallowed. You think that's us? I know it is, she said. A distant alarm finally sounded. She turned toward it calmly. This place will fall, she said. Not in fire, in silence. Elias took a breath. What do you need from me? She met his eyes. Nothing yet, she said. Only that you continue to choose wisely. She reached out and touched the restraint on his wrist. It dissolved into light. You are free, she said. And you? Elias asked. She looked back toward the facility. I was never a prisoner, she replied. As they moved into the shadows together, the Dominion took its first real step toward collapse. And it did not even know it yet. The corridor lights faded behind them as Elias Kane followed the alien woman through the lower levels of the Dominion facility. She moved with quiet confidence now. No false weakness, no uneven steps. She knew exactly where she was going. Elias kept pace, his senses alert. Every sound mattered, every shadow could hide danger. Where are we going? He asked softly. To a place they stopped watching long ago, she replied. They turned into a narrow passage filled with old machinery. Dust covered the walls. Some devices were powered down, forgotten by time and pride. The Dominion builds fast, she said, but they abandon faster. Elias nodded. Same mistake every empire makes. She glanced at him. You study history. I lived it, Elias said. Humans tried empire once. Didn't end well. They stopped before a sealed door marked with faded symbols. She placed her hand on the surface. The metal rippled like water, then opened without sound. Inside was a small control room, ancient, nothing like Dominion design. The walls were smooth and dark, covered with dim lights that pulsed slowly like breathing. Elias stepped inside and felt it immediately. This isn't theirs, he said. No, she replied. It never was. The door closed behind them. For the first time since the arena, Elias felt truly hidden. She stood in the center of the room and straightened fully. The disguise slipped further. Her posture became tall and balanced. The uneven features of her face softened, shifting just enough to show what she truly was beneath the mask. Not beautiful, not ugly, simply powerful. You can look, she said. Elias did, and for the first time he understood why entire civilizations had feared her kind. You're not just ancient, he said quietly. You're still in command. Yes, she replied, though there are few of us left. How few? Elias asked. She paused. I am the last who still acts. Elias felt the weight of those words settle in his chest. Why? He asked. Because acting means responsibility, she said, and responsibility always ends in sacrifice. The room hummed softly around them. Elias leaned against a console. Then why start acting again now? She met his gaze. Because of you, Elias frowned. Me? Yes, she said. You were observed long before this war. He laughed quietly. I was just a soldier. That is exactly why, she replied. She raised her hand and a projection appeared in the air. Images formed, human ships, damaged but still fighting, civilians rebuilding cities. Soldiers standing guard over people who were not their own. You lose, she said, again and again, but you do not erase yourselves. Elias watched silently. Other species collapse, she continued. Or they harden, they become cruel to survive. Humans adapt without forgetting compassion. Elias swallowed. Not always. Enough, she said. Enough to matter. The projection shifted. Now it showed Elias himself older footage from years before, a battlefield. He was dragging a wounded ally while under fire. You could have retreated, she said. You didn't. Elias looked away. That was my job. No, she replied. That was your choice. She let the image fade. When the Dominion rose, she said, we watched. When they conquered, we waited. When they enslaved, we tested. Tested? Elias asked. Many species, she said. Many chances, all failed. Elias looked back at her. And us? You fought, she said. You lost, and you still did not break. A distant tremor passed through the facility. The lights flickered again. Elias felt it. They're noticing now. Yes, she said, but too late to stop the first phase. She touched the control panel. Lines of light spread across the walls like a star map. These systems were placed long ago, she said, before the Dominion, before most empires. Elias studied the map. You seeded the galaxy. To observe, she replied, and to intervene if necessary. What does intervention look like? Elias asked. She looked at him carefully. Not destruction. The map shifted. Dominion command centers dimmed. Communication lines flickered. We remove control, she said. We return choice. Elias nodded slowly. No rulers, no masters. Yes, she said. Only responsibility. Another tremor shook the room. This time, alarms sounded in the distance. They'll send forces, Elias said. They already have, she replied calmly. Elias straightened. Then we need to move. She shook her head. No, we wait. For what? Elias asked. For them to make the final mistake, she said. Heavy footsteps echoed from far away, orders shouted in alien voices. Elias felt his pulse quicken. "You're too calm for someone being hunted," she smiled faintly. "I have been hunted for thousands of years." The footsteps stopped suddenly, silence followed, then confusion. The sounds of shouting turned into arguments, systems failed. Doors locked and unlocked at random. Elias let out a breath. "You're shutting them down." "Not me," she corrected. "Their own structure." She turned to him. "This is why I chose you," she said. "You didn't choose me," Elias replied. "You let me choose you." "Yes," she agreed. "Because choice reveals truth." Elias thought of the arena, of the laughter, of the moment he pointed at her. "They thought I was humiliating myself," he said. "They always mistake humility for weakness," she replied. A new alert flashed on the control panel. Human life signs, dozens of them appeared across the facility. "They're freeing them," Elias said. "Yes," she said, quietly. Elias clenched his hands. "They deserve more than cages." "They will have it," she said, "because of what comes next." She turned toward him fully. "The Dominion will fall," she said, "but something must replace the fear it leaves behind." Elias met her gaze. "You want humanity to guide that." "No," she said softly. "I want humanity to refuse to rule." Elias blinked. "That doesn't make sense." "It will," she said. "Soon." The facility shook again, stronger this time. "They're retreating," Elias said. "Yes," she replied. "Their leaders feel loss of control. That terrifies them more than death." Elias exhaled slowly. "You know," he said, "most people would take this power." She nodded. "Most species did." "And you erased them," Elias said. "I stopped them," she replied. "Sometimes that looks the same." She stepped closer to him. "You will be offered power," she said. "Sooner than you think." Elias frowned. "I'm nobody special." She smiled again. "Neither were we," she said. "Once." A final alarm blared, then cut off mid-sound. Silence fell over the facility. The control panel dimmed. "It has begun," she said. Elias looked at the map, at the collapsing lines of control. "What happens now?" he asked. She turned toward the exit. "Now," she said, "the galaxy learns that humanity does not need to conquer to change everything." Elias followed her into the dark corridor. Behind them, the Dominion's grip loosened. And it would never fully close again. Every tower, every road, every floating platform followed perfect order. Information flowed in straight lines. Commands moved downward. Obedience moved upward. That was how the Dominion ruled half the galaxy. And that was why it began to fail all at once. In the highest command spire, Dominion leaders gathered in a wide circular chamber. Tall windows showed the silver sky outside. Holograms filled the air, each one flashing warnings. System delays detected. Communication loss in Sector 12. Unauthorized releases confirmed. The High Overseer stood at the center, unmoving. "This is not possible," it said. "Our systems are absolute." Another Overseer responded, "The errors are small, isolated." "Yes," the High Overseer said. "Then ignore them." They did. That was the second mistake. Far below, in detention facilities across the capital, energy barriers weakened for a few seconds at a time. Doors unlocked, then locked again. Shock collars powered down just long enough to fall away. Prisoners noticed. First one human, then another, then many. Elias Kane moved through a lower corridor with the ancient woman at his side. They walked openly now. Cameras still watched, but they no longer reported correctly. Elias saw doors opening ahead of them. Human prisoners stepped out slowly, unsure if it was a trap. "Sergeant," one whispered. Elias stopped. "You're free," he said. The soldier stared at him. "How?" Elias glanced at the woman. "Long story," he said. "Short version, walk out, don't fight, just leave." More humans joined them. Then others, aliens from conquered worlds, confused and cautious. No alarms followed. The Dominion's systems were still working, just not together. In the command spire, a junior analyst spoke again. "High Overseer, prisoner counts are incorrect." "Explain," the Overseer demanded. "There are gaps," the analyst said. "Records show compliance, but physical presence does not match." The Overseer's eyes narrowed. "Search logs," the analyst hesitated. "Logs are looping." Silence spread across the chamber. "That is impossible," another Overseer said. The High Overseer finally turned. "Find the source," it commanded. Elsewhere in the capital, Dominion citizens laughed. They watched feeds of confused guards and empty cells. They believed it was a system test, a training simulation. "Humans escaping without violence?" one citizen joked. They are softer than we thought, said another. They did not understand. Elias led the growing group into an abandoned transit tunnel. Old tracks ran through it, unused for decades. The ancient woman raised her hand. Lights flickered on one by one. A young human soldier spoke quietly. Who is she? Elias answered honestly. Someone who waited a long time. The woman turned to the group. You are safe here, she said. For now. One of the freed aliens stepped forward. Why are you helping us? She looked at them calmly. Because control is ending. A murmur passed through the group. What about revenge? Someone asked. She shook her head. Revenge builds new chains. Elias felt something settle in his chest. He realized this was the difference. The Dominion broke bodies. She broke systems. In the command spire, panic finally arrived. Entire sectors stopped responding. Fleets received no clear orders. Supply chains froze because no command came to move them. Deploy enforcement fleets, the High Overseer ordered. They cannot receive unified commands, an Overseer replied. Then centralize control, the High Overseer shouted. As it spoke, the main command display went dark, then restarted, then showed nothing but empty space. For the first time in its long rule, the High Overseer felt something close to fear. Back in the tunnels, Elias watched as more humans arrived, guided by silent signals and opened paths. This is bigger than the capital, he said. Yes, the woman replied. Across the Empire. Are you shutting everything down? Elias asked. No, she said. I am removing the idea that control must flow from the top. She turned to him. They built everything to obey, she said. So when obedience fails, they have nothing. Elias nodded slowly. That's a clean kill. She looked at him sharply. It is not a kill, he corrected himself. A clean end. Yes, she said. A Dominion patrol appeared at the far end of the tunnel. Their weapons were raised, but their movements were uncertain. The lead guard shouted, Stop! No one moved. The guard hesitated. His command link flickered. Hold position, he tried to say. The words did not transmit. The patrol looked at one another, then slowly unsure, they lowered their weapons. They stepped aside. Elias watched them go. They don't know what to do without orders, he said. Most do not, the woman replied. That is why tyranny spreads easily. The group continued moving. In the command spire, the High Overseer slammed a clawed hand onto the console. This is an attack, it said. Why is there no enemy? No one answered. A final report came in. High Overseer, former slave worlds are declaring independence. The Overseer turned slowly. They cannot, it said. They lack authority. They are not requesting authority, the analyst replied. They are organizing. The Overseer understood too late. Power was not being stolen. It was being ignored. Elias and the woman reached a high exit platform. From there, the city spread out before them. Lights flickered unevenly across the skyline. Ships lifted off without permission. Others remained grounded, unsure who could tell them to move. Elias exhaled. They built a perfect cage. Yes, she said, and forgot how to live outside it. She looked at him. You see now why I needed a human. Elias nodded. You needed someone who wouldn't take over. Yes, she said, someone who would walk away. A young human officer approached Elias. Sir, what now? Elias looked at the woman. She shook her head gently. This is not my moment. Elias turned back to his people. We leave, he said. We help who asks. We don't rule. We don't replace them. The officer hesitated. That's it. Elias smiled faintly. That's enough. Behind them, the Dominion capital continued to unravel, not in fire, not in screams, but in confusion and silence. In the command spire, the High Overseer stood alone. Its empire was still standing, but no one was listening. And for the first time in history, the Dominion realized its greatest mistake. It had laughed at the human. And it had never looked closely at the one he chose. From the high exit platform, Elias Kane could see it clearly. The city still stood. The towers still floated, the lights still shone, but something invisible had vanished. Authority, ships moved without formation. Traffic paths crossed and paused, then shifted again. Some districts went dark as systems waited for commands that never came. The ancient woman stood beside Elias, her gaze calm, almost distant. It is spreading faster than expected, Elias said. Yes, she replied. Because control was all they had. Below them, humans and freed beings moved together in small groups. No shouting, no chaos, just movement, quiet purpose. Elias felt a strange weight in his chest. This is the part where history usually turns ugly, he said. She nodded. That is why this moment matters most. They walked to a smaller platform where an old transport waited. It was not Dominion design. It was older, cleaner, built to last. As they boarded, the woman touched the hull. The ship awakened without sound. Inside, the space was simple. No weapons, no command throne, only seats and a wide viewing panel that showed the planet below. Elias took a seat but did not relax. "You said I would be offered power," he said. "Yes," she replied. "Soon." The ship lifted smoothly and rose above the capital. As it climbed, the view widened. The planet's network appeared before them, lines of light connecting cities, fleets, and distant systems. Some lines were dim, some broken. Others rerouted themselves, forming new paths. "This is the Dominion's nervous system," the woman said. "Or what remains of it." Elias stared. "You could take control of all of this." "Yes," she said, "but I won't." She turned toward him. "You will." Elias looked at her sharply. "No," she raised a hand gently. "Not rule, not command." "Then what?" Elias asked. She gestured and the network shifted again. A new layer appeared, ancient, deep, hidden beneath the Dominion systems. "These are ours," she said. "Observers, stabilizers, silent tools." Elias felt his breath slow. "You hid this beneath everything," he said. "Yes," she replied. "So no empire could own it." "And now?" Elias asked. "Now the last safeguard requires consent," she said. The ship grew quieter, as if listening. Elias understood then. "You can't activate it alone," he said. "No," she agreed, "because power without consent becomes tyranny." She met his eyes. "My kind learned that too late." Elias looked back at the network. "What does it do?" "It prevents domination," she said. "Not by force, by balance." She explained slowly, using simple words. The system did not control fleets. It did not issue laws. It did not punish, it watched. When any one power grew too large, too fast, it quietly weakened the structures that allowed absolute control. Communication delays, resource inefficiency, internal friction, no disasters, no mass death, just limits. "Like gravity," Elias said. "Yes," she replied, "you can fly, but not forever." Elias leaned back. "And you want humans to decide if this stays." "Yes," she said, "because after today my kind will step away completely." Elias frowned. "Why?" "Because we stayed too long before," she said. "And others stopped choosing for themselves." The ship slowed, hovering above the planet's curve. "Humanity is different," she continued. "You question power even when you hold it." Elias thought of Earth, of governments arguing while cities burned, of soldiers following orders and sometimes refusing them. "We argue a lot," he said. She smiled faintly. "That is a strength." A signal appeared on the viewing panel, incoming. Elias recognized the code, human. A familiar face filled the screen, Commander Ruiz, one of the highest-ranking survivors. "Elias," Ruiz said, "we're seeing everything. The Dominion fleets are standing down, systems are unlocking across sectors." Elias nodded. "I know," Ruiz hesitated. "We're getting offers." "Offers?" Elias asked. "Former Dominion worlds," Ruiz said. "They want leadership, protection, someone to take control." Elias closed his eyes briefly. "Of course they do," he said. Ruiz leaned closer. "We could do it. We have allies. We have momentum." Elias opened his eyes and looked at the ancient woman. She said nothing. He turned back to Ruiz. "No," Elias said. Ruiz blinked. "No, we don't replace one empire with another," Elias said. "We help them stand on their own." There was silence on the channel. "That's not how this usually goes," Ruiz said slowly. "I know," Elias replied. "That's the point." Ruiz studied him. "Is this your call?" Elias shook his head. "It's ours. I'll explain when I get back." The channel closed. The ship remained still. The ancient woman looked at Elias. "This is the choice," she said. "You can activate the system or destroy it." Elias felt the weight settle fully now. "If we destroy it," he said, "what happens?" "Eventually," she replied, "another dominion, another cycle." "And if we activate it?" Elias asked. "No one will ever rule completely again," she said. "Including you." Elias laughed quietly. "That's not much of a temptation." "Power never tempts those who understand its cost," she said. He stood and walked closer to the viewing panel. The galaxy spread out before him, countless lives, countless futures. Humans had always dreamed of the stars, but not of owning them. He turned back to her. "We don't get to decide forever," he said. "Only for now." She inclined her head. "That is all balance ever is." Elias placed his hand on the console she indicated. It did not glow brightly. It did not demand. It waited. "Activate," Elias said. The console accepted the command. Nothing dramatic happened. No shockwave, no explosion. Across the galaxy, however, small changes took place. Systems adjusted, chains loosened. No one noticed immediately, and that was the point. Elias stepped back. "Now what?" She smiled, truly smiled for the first time. "Now," she said, "I leave." He frowned, "Just like that?" "Yes," she replied, "my watch ends." "What about you?" Elias asked. "Where do you go?" "Where myths belong," she said gently, "out of reach." The ship began to descend toward a human-held transport hub. She paused before the exit. "One more thing," she said. "Yes?" Elias asked. "The galaxy will never know what you refused," she said, "only what you allowed." Elias nodded. "That's fine." She studied him, then stepped back. "You were never weak," she said. "You were ready." The door opened. Light filled the ship. When Elias looked again, she was gone. Only silence remained. And far across the stars, the galaxy continued, free to rise, free to fall, but never again free to enslave all. There were no great announcements. No single moment when every world looked up and realized something was different. Change arrived quietly, like morning light through a window no one remembered opening. On the former Dominion capital world, the towers still floated. The streets still glowed. But now, decisions were made in many places instead of one. Local councils formed. Old commanders argued with engineers. Merchants negotiated without fear of sudden orders. Confusion ruled at first, then something unexpected followed. Choice. Elias Kane stood on the deck of a human transport ship as it prepared to leave the system. Around him, human soldiers and civilians moved with tired but steady purpose. They were going home, or as close to home as they could reach. Commander Ruiz joined him, hands behind his back. "The galaxy is talking," Ruiz said. Elias nodded. "It always does." "They're calling it a miracle," Ruiz continued. "Some say the Dominion collapsed from weakness, others say from corruption. And some will invent gods," Elias said. Ruiz smiled faintly. "Already happening." They watched as the ship's engines warmed. "No one mentions you," Ruiz added. Elias shrugged. "Good," Ruiz studied him. "You could have led everything, you know." Elias looked out at the stars. "That's exactly why I shouldn't." The ship lifted away smoothly, leaving the capital behind, not conquered, not destroyed, simply left to itself. Across nearby systems, former slave worlds faced their first true test. Without an empire above them, some argued, some failed, some nearly fell apart. But others surprised the galaxy. Old enemies negotiated. Shared resources replaced forced tribute. Small alliances formed, not from fear, but from need. It was messy. It was slow. It was real. Far away, in hidden observation points scattered across deep space, ancient systems watched quietly. They adjusted balances gently, almost invisibly. No one knew they were there. That was how they were meant to be. On Earth, months later, Elias stood on a quiet hill overlooking a rebuilt city. The scars of war were still visible, half-repaired buildings, temporary shelters, uneven lights at night. But children played in the streets. Ships landed and lifted off daily. Humanity had survived. Again, a young officer approached Elias holding a data pad. "Sir, the council wants your input," she said. Elias smiled politely. "They always do." "They trust you," she added. "That worries me," Elias replied. She laughed softly, unsure if he was joking. Elias took the pad, scanned it briefly, then handed it back. "Tell them the same thing as always," he said. "No empire, no throne, just help where we can." "Yes, sir," the officer said and walked away. Elias sat on a bench and watched the sky. Sometimes he thought he felt her presence, not as a voice, not as a vision, but as a quiet sense of balance, like standing on solid ground after a long fall. Elsewhere in the galaxy, stories spread. They changed as stories always did. Some said a human warrior defeated the Dominion with secret weapons. Some said humans had allied with an ancient, godlike race. Some said the Dominion destroyed itself. The truth was simpler and harder to accept. Humanity had been given power and refused it. On a distant world, a former Dominion official spoke to a gathering of citizens. "The humans are dangerous," he warned. "They could have ruled us." A voice from the crowd asked, "But they didn't. Why?" The official had no answer. That question echoed across the stars. Why would a species that could rule everything choose not to? Years passed. The galaxy stabilized not into peace, but into something closer to fairness. Large empires never fully formed again. Whenever one began to grow too rigid, too centralized, it found itself slowed, not by war, but by its own weight. Historians debated endlessly. Philosophers argued. Military academies rewrote their doctrines. One lesson appeared again and again. Strength is not the ability to dominate, but the ability to stop. Elias grew older. He refused medals, declined positions, lived simply. Most people never knew his name. That was how he wanted it. One evening, as he walked home through the city, he paused. The air felt still. Familiar, he turned. She stood across the street, not disguised, not hidden, not fully revealed either, just enough. "You came back," Elias said. "For a moment," she replied. They stood in silence as vehicles passed, unaware. "The system is holding," she said. Elias nodded. "Humans are still arguing," she smiled. "Excellent. Will you stay?" he asked. "No," she said gently. "My kind no longer belongs in the flow of events." Elias studied her. "You trust us that much?" "I trust your doubt," she replied. "It keeps you human." They walked together for a short distance. "When the galaxy remembers this time," Elias said, "what will they say?" She looked at the stars. "They will say an empire fell," she said. "They will argue how." "And the truth?" Elias asked. "They will forget it," she replied. "Because it does not fit the old stories." Elias smiled. "That's fine." She stopped walking. "One last thing," she said. "Yes. You chose me when everyone laughed," she said. "That choice mattered more than you know." Elias shrugged. "I just trusted my instincts." She shook her head softly. "No," she said. "You trusted restraint." Light shimmered around her, gentle and fading. "Goodbye, Elias Kane," she said. "Goodbye," he replied. She was gone. The street felt normal again. Elias continued home. Far above, unseen, the ancient systems remained quiet, watching, waiting, not for heroes, but for balance. And across the galaxy, in countless languages and cultures, one idea slowly took root, that the strongest species in the stars was not the one that conquered, but the one that knew when to stop.